10 NFL teams leading into Week 16. Ladies and gentlemen, only a few more of these. I mean, we are deep into the NFL season, and our fluid power ranking list has reached the 16th iteration. All right, so last week, this is how it looked. Lions, Bills, Eagles, Ravens, Vikings, Chiefs, Steelers, Broncos, Seahawks, and Packers. This week, a lot of changes. This week, we have a new number one. Most significant change, the Bills are officially number one. The Lions drop all the way to 3. So the new top 10 is Bills, Eagles, Lions, Ravens, Vikings, Chiefs, Broncos, Packers, Steelers, and Texans re-enter the conversation. Let's talk about the Lions, because the Lions are the big mover and shaker. So I love the Lions. And honestly, like, the Bills played a perfect game, right? Like, the Bills, you could not have asked for a better performance if you're a fan of the Buffalo Bills. Like, the way that the game started, they had a nice lead throughout. Really wasn't that big of a deal. Josh Allen was doing whatever he wanted. You know, they were doing their thing. And even with that, the Lions had a pseudo chance at the end of the game if they convert the onside kick and whatnot. But the reason that Detroit has dropped is because of the injuries. At some point, these injuries have to catch up with them. David Montgomery is sidelined now, potentially for the year. I've heard at first it was like, okay, he's out for the year. Then I heard he may try and play, but they are out like 9 defensive players. Now Montgomery, and that Montgomery-Gibbs 1-2 punch is such a big part of this team and part of this offense. I have no doubt that Jahmyr Gibbs can carry the load, but still, it's a star player. It's a big part of their team. It's a big part of their culture, and they're losing them. On the flip side, the Eagles look like they're not losing anybody. Like, the Eagles look like just a really, really good team. The Eagles with a great performance against the Steelers, who were fantastic, and the Eagles just kind of body bagged them. Like, the Eagles are that team. You know what they're going to do. They dare you to stop it. If you can't stop it, they're going to dominate you. And in the playoffs and you know, late into a season, when you are as good as they are on the interior, and when you have as good of a defense as they have, I've been saying it for weeks. When you think of the Eagles, what do you think about? Jalen Hurts, Tush Push, Saquon Barkley, Offensive Player of the Year, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. You don't think like, oh yeah, that's the best defense in the NFL. They are. Like, you think of the Steelers, or you think of some of these other teams as like the best defense. The Philadelphia Eagles are the best defense. So if you're looking at the Eagles and you're like, well, they probably have a top 3 or 4 offense. They probably have a top 3 offensive line, defensive line. Or they probably have a top 5 wide receiver core. Oh, they probably have a top 1 or 2 running back. Oh, and LOL, they have the best defense in the NFL. So the more the Lions get injured and the more question marks we have about Detroit, the more I think Philadelphia should be considered right now the number 2 team. I think as far as the Super Bowl goes, I would be absolutely floored, absolutely stunned if the Bills don't come out of the AFC and if the Eagles or Lions don't come out of the NFC. I think you can pretty much draw a line after those 3 teams. I think you can say Bills versus Eagles/Lions and be done with it. Cancel the rest of the season. Cancel the playoffs. None of that matters. I think we know who the best 3 teams in the NFL are, and I think we have an idea of who the Super Bowl matchup is going to be. I just do not see, if this was week 3, then it's like, yeah, sure, things can change. You know, teams can get better, teams can get worse. We don't fully know these teams. I think at this point now we fully know these 3 teams. 4, Baltimore. 5, Minnesota. Minnesota keeps impressing. I mean, every single week it's like, all right, this is the week they may have some trouble. And then Darnold looks incredible, and they look better than ever, and the defense is swarming, and O'Connell's a mastermind. I mean, Minnesota, and maybe I'm disrespecting Minnesota. Like, maybe Minnesota is more of a threat in the NFC than I'm giving them credit for. But they just impress every single week. KC finally gets an impressive win. Finally. Now, Patrick Mahomes at the end of the game, people thought he broke his ankle. Comes out, like, this is an insane kind of timeline here. End of the game, they say, okay, he may have broke his ankle, which is like, okay, he's out for the year. Then it's high ankle sprain, week to week. Okay, now it's like, well, he'll probably sit out the rest of the regular season, maybe miss a playoff game. Literally the next day. So we're talking like 17 hours later, maybe not even. All of a sudden, it's like, he's fully practicing. What? How do we go from broken ankle, high ankle sprain, week to week? Never mind, LOL, he's good. He's not even missing practice. Like, he's not even missing a single practice, much less a game. I actually read a long time ago something from Andy Reid where he was saying that Patrick Mahomes has like deformed ankles. Like his ankles are extra loose or they're extra like wiggly or something, where they get twisted up all the time, but they can't like sprain. They can't break or sprain because they're so I guess like bendy. But I think he does get injured a lot, like these moments, because I feel like we've seen these moments a bunch because his ankles are so, I don't want to say fragile, because they're not fragile, they're like the opposite of fragile, but because they're so just liquid, that they're just moving all over the place, that on one hand, they do get bent and they do get whatever a lot, but it's never an injury. So maybe he's double jointed, I don't know, but Mahomes' ankles are something that needs to be studied. But good win. They finally get a good win. They finally get a convincing win. So they remain at 6. And obviously with the Mahomes situation, I don't move them up. I don't move them down, because apparently he's going to play. Broncos at 7. Good win for Denver. The Chargers had an embarrassment against Tampa Bay. So they get knocked out. The AFC West had 3 teams in my top 10 last week, but the Chargers embarrassed themselves. So they get knocked out. But Denver continues to look good. And Denver is... I think a lot of these teams at the end here, it's like, yeah, they're playoff teams, but how far can they really go? And Denver kind of falls into that, where, yeah, they're a playoff team. Yeah, for sure. But are they a contender? Probably not. Green Bay, good win. Green Bay with a good performance. The back half of the game was against Sam Howell. So, what can you do? But Green Bay is very similar to Philadelphia, where Green Bay is saying, hey, here's the deal. We're going to roll up in here, and we are going to run the ball 15 times. And if you can stop it, we'll go to the pass. If you can't stop it, we'll just run it 30 times this game. I talked about it multiple times this season, how good coaches like Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur, they're not afraid to just run the football. They're not afraid to just mash a play that works. And Green Bay showed that exact thing on Monday night. They ran it 8 times on the first possession. 8! They didn't come out there and say, well, we got to have balance, or, well, we got to get blank player involved, or, well, we got to do this. We can't just run it every play. Nope. They said, hey, this is working. Okay, run it straight down the field. And that's exactly what they did, and that broke Seattle's back, and the game was over. Like, that easy. How many other coaches go into games where they're like, all right, we're going to do play action, and then we're going to run it, and then we're going to do a screen, and then we're going to do a draw, and then we're going to try and get this tight end, and then we're going to take a shot. Ladies and gentlemen, if it works, do it. If play action rollouts work, spam it 20 times. All right, so we joke around that it's like when you're playing Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat and someone just does like low punch and you can't defend it and they beat you. And it's like, dude, all you did was low punch. And their rebuttal would be, it works. Why would I do anything else? And that's what McVay and LaFleur and some of these other coaches do. They just do low punches. The Steelers fall to 9. Still a good team. Still a good defense. The team is kind of similar to the Bills, where like with the Bills, Josh Allen has to kind of drag the team. Like however good Josh Allen is how good the Bills are going to be. The Steelers are kind of like that with Russell Wilson. Like if Russell Wilson is really, really good, the Steelers are going to be really, really good. Like if Russell Wilson is absolutely lighting it up, hard to beat them because they do have a lot of. They're another sneaky team where the defense absolutely elite, but then you forget like, well, they do have some weapons. Like they do have an offense. This isn't the Steelers team with Mason Rudolph where if you score 17 points, you basically win. So I think the Steelers are good. Tough performance. against the Eagles, but Eagles are kind of a bad matchup for them. But, I wouldn't be selling my Steelers stock just now. Texans slip into the top 10. I think the Texans are a completely different team with Nico Collins. With Nico Collins on the field, C.J. Stroud is way better. We got a little ahead of ourselves with the C.J. Stroud MVP talk and the Texans AFC Championship talk and all that. Good team, young team. They'll get better. This year is not the year they'll be contending, but, it is what it is. But the Texans, division champion. I believe they clinched the division. Yeah, they clinched the division. So, a 9-5 division champ. I'll toss in my top 10. Point differential, not great. They're not like this high-flying. They've had some trouble offensively. Bobby Slowick came under fire at certain points this year. But like I said, I think if you have Nico Collins on the field, they're way better than they are without him. And that point differential kind of is a bit fugazi because of the games that he missed. So, but I do think the Texans are solid. Honorable mentions are Tampa. Tampa would have been my 11. Washington would be my 12. And then you basically have like a couple teams still fighting for the playoffs, a couple teams that I think are relatively legit, like the Rams. The Rams are 8-6. Like, I like the Rams. And this isn't an order here, but it would kind of be like this. But like Tampa, Washington are my honorable mentions. Like I was kind of going back and forth between those two and Houston. Then we have the Rams, Chargers, Seahawks, who are kind of like, all right, one of, if not multiple of these teams will be in the playoffs. Who will it be, right? And then San Francisco is just a sleeping giant who just injuries and circumstances they just can't get right. After that, it's the island of irrelevancy. Cardinals, Falcons, Saints. I mean, all these teams are like completely irrelevant. And then you get to your like really bad teams like the Raiders, the Jags, the Titans, Panthers, Jets, Cowboys. Like those teams don't matter at all. Bengals are like island of irrelevancy. Bears are island of irrelevancy. And the rest are Colts would be island of irrelevancy. Yeah. So that's kind of how I would shape up the entire league. Let's look at DVOA real quick, see how close my rankings were. Okay, their team total DVOA is Baltimore 1. I think that's kind of high. Detroit 2, Green Bay 3. They're super high on Green Bay. I am for sure the low. I'm like the market low when it comes to Green Bay. They have Green Bay 3, Buffalo 4, Philly 5, Minnesota 6, KC 7, San Francisco 8. This is high on KC or San Francisco. Houston 9, Denver 10, Pittsburgh 11. I've been kind of the market high on Pittsburgh, but now I dropped them to 9 now. Yeah, so I'm not even that high. So Buffalo, they have 4, I have 1. Philly, they have 5, I have 2. Detroit, they have 2, I have 3. Minnesota 5, they have 6. KC 6, they have 7. Denver 7. Where do they have Denver? 10. Okay. Green Bay 8, they have 3. So that's the big difference. Green Bay's 5 spots off. The rest are like 2, 3, 1 spot off. Pittsburgh 9, they have 11. Where do they have Houston? 9. Okay, and I have them 10. Okay, so the only team that we're really disagreeing on is Green Bay. And I have Green Bay a little lower. I mean, I don't know. Like, I just don't. I don't know. I mean, on a neutral field, would you have Green Bay favored over Minnesota? I don't think I would. Would you have Green Bay favored over Baltimore or Detroit or Philly or Buffalo? No. Denver, maybe. KC, I could hear the argument. I don't know. The highest I could put Green Bay, I think, is 5. I could put them over KC and Denver. I don't think I could put them over Minnesota, Baltimore, Detroit, Philly, or Buffalo. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there's your top 10 conversation for the week. We're getting close. We're getting close. I mean, we only have a couple of these left, and then we're doing the playoffs, and we will have like a new kind of power ranking in the playoffs. We'll only include playoff teams, and we'll seed them out and all that stuff. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let me know in the comments below where I messed it up, where I had it right, where I had it wrong, and I will see you in the next video.